Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email, by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal, or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone, including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
I'm so excited about today's presenter. Her name is Wendy Velez Torres, and a little background. Last summer, I attended a conference all about digital accessibility and how we can make digital materials accessible to people with disabilities. And I went to her session, and it's one of the best sessions that I have been to in a very long time. And so I was determined to have Wendy on as a presenter. So Ms. Torres is the Senior Instructional and Digital Accessibility Specialist and Adjunct Instructor for Chapin State University in Baltimore, Maryland. Wendy has been teaching for over 21 years and has a bachelor's in special education and a master's in educational leadership and instructional technology, and was just accepted into a doctoral program. She has taught at all levels from kindergarten to higher education. Wendy has given numerous professional workshops for Roland Park County School, as well as the St. Francis Assisi School, the Digital Harbor School, Chapin State University, the University of Maryland, the Online Learning Consortium, and multiple professional organizations. And I also would like to share with you that Wendy is also a United States Marine, retired, and she served from 1995 to 2005 and holds numerous accommodation medals. And so at this time, please help me welcome Miss Wendy Velez Torres to Tech Intel.
So welcome, everybody. I'm delighted that you're here. Again, my name is Wendy Torres, and I'm coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland. And today we're going to talk about some assistive technology tools that are built right into the Office 365 platform. And so with Office 365, you may have a free personal account, and you may have one that your job might provide for you. The one that the job provides for you has a lot more features that come with that. But this presentation is only going to focus on the free ones that show up on a personal account. So I have a personal Office 365 account that's separate from my job one. And then I have one for my job where it's my job's email account. But I have a lot more features that come with that. But before I begin, I do want to give you a little information about me. So I am a master teacher. I've been teaching since 2000, and that's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. I recently just got accepted into my doctoral program, and I'm a mother of two. So if I come off as very passionate about accessibility, it is because it's extremely personal to me. On this particular slide, there's 3 pictures. 2 of them is of my children. I've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter who will be 21 in August, and my son is 12, and my 12-year-old is autistic. And so for me, accessibility is a very personal thing because I need to make sure that everything that I share with him is accessible and then he has access to that information. As a special educator is also very personal to me because access to content, access to information is not something special that we do for our students. It's a right of everyone. So it's very personal to me. So if I come off as passionate, that is why. There's also a picture of me there as a Marine. It's very funny when I tell people I was in the Marine Corps, my Marine friends can't see me as a teacher and my teacher friends can't see me as a Marine. So my Marine friends were like, how are you a teacher? You're so mean. And then my teacher friends would be like, how are you a Marine? You're so nice. So it's kind of funny how that works out. For today, we're going to talk about 4 features that you can use in Office 365: Dictate, Translate, Immersive Reader, and the Speaker Coach in PowerPoint. So I will be demonstrating how these work. And again, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. And then Anne-Marie, just let me know what that question may be. Feel free to interrupt me at any point. Anne-Marie, if I need to clarify, or if there's a question that I have missed in the chat. So we're going to talk today about these 4 tools: Immersive Reader, Dictate, Translate, and Rehearse Coach. And I'm going to start off with one of my favorite tools, which is Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader was originally designed by Microsoft for students or adults who were dyslexic. So originally, when they created this tool, it was geared to a specific audience. However, because the tool is so versatile and so useful, they made it available in all their products to help anyone who may use this tool. So my son is autistic and he uses Immersive Reader. My daughter is not disabled, but she also uses Immersive Reader, but they use it in different ways. So it's a tool that was designed to help one group of people and ends up helping everyone. Very similar with things with accessibility. Usually assistive technology is designed to address one need and other people benefit from it. And so Immersive Reader is items in Office 365. You may also see it available in some EdTech online tools because Microsoft has made that code available to other vendors for free. So other vendors can then incorporate that code into their platform, but it was originally designed by Microsoft. This chart here simply just kind of shows you where Immersive Reader is in Office 365 products. And so it shows up in OneNote, it shows up in Word, Outlook, and in some of the other Office 365 apps, such as Flip, Edge, which is their browser, which is what they use to explore the internet, and some other items that are owned by Microsoft, where Immersive Reader is actually built right into that particular platform. So these are the features, but I'm going to tell you what they are, but then I'm going to actually show you. I'm going to show you exactly how Immersive Reader works and how you can use this. So with Immersive Reader, it does provide dictation. It will read the content out loud to you. It has what's called focus mode. I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like. It allows you to change how fonts look. It allows you to identify the parts of speech, and it also provides real-time translation. So I'm going to actually get out of my PowerPoint right now, and I'm going to show you how it works. So right now, I'm in an Office 365 Word document. I'm in the free version, and there's some text that has been written on my particular Word document. The Immersive Reader shows up under the View tab at the top, and it shows up as an icon that looks like an open book with a speaker on it. At the moment, you're just looking at my Word document on there. But if I wanted to activate Immersive Reader, I want to see what's involved with this Immersive Reader, I just have to move my mouse over to it and click on it. And then it immediately takes me to Immersive Reader. When I get into Immersive Reader, I can see that the font is significantly bigger. And then there's nothing else on the screen except the text that was part of that Word document. Now, if I just came on this, the first thing I would see at the bottom is this triangle that looks green. And if I click on that, that's going to start reading the content of this Word document out loud. So I'm going to press on that so you can hear how that sounds. So I'm going to click on play.
1. Improved dictation. Improves text creation.
So when I did that, it just started reading the content, but then it actually highlighted the words as it was reading. Now, the voice that is used is a female voice, but I can customize that. Maybe that voice, I don't like that voice, or maybe it's too slow, or maybe it's too fast. I can customize how that feels by clicking on the settings right next to it, and it'll allow me to select how fast I want it to speak, and if I want it to be a female or a male voice. It is an artificial intelligence generated voice, but I can dictate how much I want that to be read. I have some students who love to have it on Rabbit, and for me, that sounds like chipmunk speak, but for some reason, some of my students prefer that. So you can customize this to your preference. You can make it faster or slower based on the preferences that you like. So in that aspect, it reads information. That's good, but there's a lot more things that you can do with this. Right now, it shows a specific font, but I can change how this looks. Maybe this is too bright for me, and I like to look a little different for my eyes. So usually I tend to like things in dark mode. I don't like the white and black background, so I might want to change that. If I click on the A at the upper right-hand corner, I have some customization options that I can use. And so I can change the font size. So if that is too big or too small, I can make it bigger so that it actually fits for how I read. So for my mom, she needs this significantly bigger because she has glaucoma. So she needs to be able to see stuff a lot bigger. You can also increase the spacing of it. I can turn that off if I want. So right now, all the words are together. But if that's distracting, I can increase that, and that helps with focus. And I can also change the font. Maybe I don't like the way that font is reading. It's not really helpful to me. And I can also decide the color. So if I don't like that white on black, I want a different color scheme, I can change that. And then it will then change that color to what helps me learn. So my mom tends to prefer the yellow and black. It just helps with her vision. I tend to prefer the black and the white. You can also use this for pronunciation. So this is useful in case you have little ones who are learning the parts of speech, or if you have someone, or if you yourself are an English as a second language speaker and you're trying to figure out how things are broken up in sounds. I can break it up into syllables, and it will show me how the syllables sound out when it reads it. And then I can also, if I wanted to, I can highlight specific items in here. So maybe I want to highlight all the nouns, and it will change it to a specific color, making it different and distinctive from the other font. I can change that color as well. So if I don't like that color, I can change a color that works best for me, and it will identify those specific parts of speech if I choose to do that. Another thing that you can do with this is the line focus, and this is extremely helpful for a lot of people. If you're dyslexic, if there's a lot of text on a page, that's going to be incredibly frustrating because you're going to be seeing all that text at once. It's hard to remember where to start. And depending on which kind of dyslexia you have, it may be very difficult to read, depending if the letters are being chopped off or they're being reversed or how they look. Also, for a case for my son, if he sees a bunch of text on the page, he immediately gets overwhelmed. Even if it's something he wants to read, he immediately thinks it's hard. And so he'll read a paragraph over and over and over again because he's lost his focus point. He also has some ADHD, so he's also focusing on everything else. You can decide the line focus by deciding which one you want. So if I want the first line focus, it will highlight just that first sentence. And when it reads it, it will show just that first sentence as it reads it, making it easier for me to understand. So if I click on play right now.
Dictation improves text creation. 2. Focus mode maintains attention and improves reading speed.
So in this case, it's reading it line by line and highlighting it just by the line. It helps me to focus on what I'm reading and to pay attention so I'm not reading over that paragraph over and over again. And I can decide if I wanted a single line focus or if I just want 3 lines, depending on how that person learns and what that person prefers. You can also translate this. So let's say you have a document and you might be an English as a second language speaker, or you might have a student who's an English as a second language speaker. This will help them understand the information. So I can come into Translate and I can select a specific language that I would like. And so it does use artificial intelligence to try to use this information. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I speak Spanish. So I would come down and select Spanish. You'll see there's 3 different choices. There's Spain, Mexico, and Latin America. And that is because with any language, we have different dialects and specific things and words that we use. And that dialect, that might be different. So for example, the way we speak English is a little different than people who are from England. It's the same language, but there are certain words and meanings that mean different things in that particular region. And so that's why you have different options. So I'm going to click on Latin America, and it's going to give me the option then, do you want it to just translate it word for word, or do I want the entire document to be translated? Depending on what I picked, it will then translate that selection, and then it will also read that out loud in that language. So let me go ahead and select document. What it just did, it just changed that document that I had into that language. And now I want to see if it actually will read it to me in that language. I'm going to push play to listen.
Atención y mejora la velocidad de lectura. 3. Lectura inmersiva. Mejora la comprensión y mantiene la atención.
So in this case, it's translating it as I'm reading it. So that's very helpful for someone who's English as a second language speaker. It helps them to understand the content. Now, it is artificial intelligence. So there may be some grammar errors because it is different when you speak than when you write. However, it's fairly accurate that the person could at least understand the content of what you're saying so they can at least understand that document better. It does not change the original document, though. So if I'm in Immersive Reader, it's not changing the original document. The original document will still be in English. It just helps that person to use this to understand the content that goes in there. And so, for example, I mentioned my daughter and my son. They both use this in two different ways. My son absolutely needs the line focus because if not, he is reading that paragraph or sentence multiple times. He's lost his focus and he gets frustrated because he can't focus on the material. My daughter, on the other hand, is not disabled, but she uses Immersive Reader frequently to draft and review what she's read. So when you type, you're tired, you've seen the stuff over and over again, and you've got tired eyes. And so what she does is she'll type up what she wants to type, but before she submits it, she'll have it read on the Immersive Reader to see how it sounds. And she likes the fact that it highlights specifically where the item is. So if she catches an error, she's like, oh, wait, I don't like the way that sounds. She can stop how it reads it. And then she can immediately go back to her document by clicking the top arrow button at the top. And then she can make that change into her original document and then go back to Immersive Reader and select where it starts off to read. So she's using it as a proofreading tool, whereas my son is using it to maintain his attention, to try to remember what is being said. So what are your thoughts about that? What do you guys think about Immersive Reader? Is this something that might be useful? How can you guys see yourself using it? I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat. So this is available for free on all the Office 365 products. Nothing you have to install, nothing extra your students have to do. It's immediately available. And the great thing about this is it's customizable. So if I've got different students from different countries, they can all get the content in a way that works best for them. And we're not doing anything extra for them. Everybody's getting the same information, just in the way that works for them. It is very helpful, the ESL classroom, yes. Yes, the syllabus is beautiful, especially if you have somebody who's a struggling reader or a new reader, or if it's a new language. Learning those syllables and how to pronounce it is very, very helpful. So for my son, that's also helpful for him because it teaches him to slow down. He has a tendency to, when he reads, he tends to read very fast. And so when he sees the syllables, it actually makes him stop for a second to slow down his progress. Yes, it can definitely be used for grammar lessons, punctuation, and sentence structure. And the fact that it's color-coded is also nice because everybody can change the color coding for their particular document. So if everybody has a specific document, they can all decide, I want the nouns in this color. And it'll be something that appeals to that student. So that student might feel like, oh, now I'm feeling like this is my document, even though it's the same information that everyone is sharing. Yes, it's great for groups because, like I said, it's available for free online. It's available immediately in all the products. And all they have to do is click on the Immersive Reader and they can start putting their information in there. And like I said, this was originally designed for people who are dyslexic, but because it's such an amazing tool, other people use it and find it helpful. Like I said, my daughter does not have a disability, but she finds it very helpful just because of her tired eyes. My son absolutely needs it because of his processing. It wasn't originally designed for him, but he's benefiting from it. All right, so where do you find it? So in Word, OneNote, and Outlook, it will show up in the ribbon under the View option. And so when you click on View, it shows up like an icon with a little speaker on it, and then it will then read to you. In the Outlook, it shows up at the top, but it will also show up in an email. So if you click and open up an email, the Immersive Reader will actually show up in the email as well. So then you can also read emails in Immersive Reader. That's extremely valuable if you have to send an email to a colleague or a family member, and maybe English is a second language to them. They can translate that information from the email and they can get the information that they need without you having to do anything different or special for that. Now, it's also available on Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge is the software that lets you get on the internet. So there are different browsers. There's Google Chrome, there's Edge, there's Firefox. If you're using a Mac, it's Safari. So Edge is Microsoft's version of that. And Immersive Reader shows up immediately in Edge, and it allows you then to read the content of an article in Immersive Reader. Now, it's very interesting to know that if you don't see the icon will show up in the address bar, and I'll show you what that looks like. If you don't see that icon, then that means that that particular feature, Immersive Reader, does not work with that particular website. So again, I'm going to get out of my presentation. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to go into Edge, and I'm going to go to a website that I know this works on. So I'm going to go on NFL.com just because my son loves football. And I'm going to go into one of these websites on NFL.com. When I first get there, if I look at the very top, I don't see that Immersive Reader icon at all in this window. I don't see it because this page has interactive features in it, so it doesn't see it. But let's see what happens when I actually click on an actual article. Now, the article has that Immersive Reader on here. And I deliberately picked this website because you'll see immediately there's some things that are coming up here. There's an ad that pops up. It's automatically playing. Things are coming up. That's extremely distracting. What if I have ADHD? Now I'm focusing on the video. I'm focusing on the pretty ads. I've forgotten what the article is about. If I click on that Immersive Reader icon, it's going to take away all those distractions so I can just focus on the words. So I'm going to click on that now. And now immediately, all those distractions are gone. All I see now is text. There's no things going around in the process there. I can now decide how I want it to read. So there's these icons that show up. I'll say read aloud, text preferences. So this is how I can say, do I want it bigger or smaller? Do I want to change the font size? Again, all the features that Immersive Reader had, it's built right into this particular website. So if I want it to be read out loud, I'll start reading. Okay, so it's reading it, and I can change my voice options as well. So that was really, really, really slow. So I can make it much faster, but I have those options here, and I can also have those grammar tools on the web page. It will break up the syllables. It will also identify the different verbs if I want to. This is extremely helpful if you have students who have to go on the web and do research because there's so many distractions available on the web. There's so many things that drive our attention. And if you have ADHD, it's extremely frustrating to try to get work done when there's a pretty flash thing going on or there's something else going on in the corner. My son will pay attention to everything on there, will tell you everything the video is about, ask him what the article is about and say there was an article. So this is very helpful because we usually share websites with our students. This automatically takes away all those distractions, and then they can customize it to work without them having to install anything special. They can certainly install things called extensions. These are like special add-ons that you can add on for a browser, but they don't have to with Edge. With Edge, it's already built in, and they can then use that to navigate around that particular website. All right, so that's the way that works on there. I'm going to go back to my presentation. So that was Immersive Reader. The next thing I want to show you is dictation. Dictation is a tool that shows up in Microsoft. And what this allows you to do, it allows you to type without using a keyboard. So maybe you've injured your hand and you can't use your keyboard. Maybe you can't use your keyboard because of a disability. Maybe your hands are tired because of carpal tunnel. Maybe you have eye fatigue. You're tired of looking at the screen and you just don't want to type anymore. You can use dictation. It shows up in the free version of Word, OneNote, and PowerPoint. And the way it works is you are using your mouth to type and you're not using the keyboard. So let me show you how that works. Again, I'm going to come out of my presentation. So right now I'm back into my Word document that we saw from before, but this time I'm going to be actually using the dictation option. The dictation option shows up on the home ribbon. And it looks like a little microphone at the very, very top. When I click on that, it's going to activate my microphone, and then I'm going to start speaking. And you should see some words to show up on my particular document. So I'm going to put my mouse here, I'm going to click on dictate. So right now I'm speaking and Word is typing what I'm saying, period. Next line. So in this aspect, all I did was click on the microphone and I didn't have to install anything. I just started speaking. And when I started speaking, it started typing what I was writing. You may have noticed that I said period and it gave me a punctuation. And then I also said next line, and then it moved the cursor down to the next line as if I was formatting this particular document. So you can do this in two ways. You can have dictation open and just start speaking. Maybe you need to gather your thoughts and it's hard for you to start writing. So you just start speaking what you think and then you organize it. That's usually how I do my papers. I have the idea in my head, but that topic sentence, that opening paragraph is hard for me. So I just start speaking out my thoughts as to what I want to do. You could do it that way, or you could use it with dictation with commands. So you don't even have to touch your keyboard. So there's lots of different things that you can do with punctuation. There's specific commands that show up. So I can say things like period, full stop. I can say add a comma. I can say add a line. So it can be very, very specific that I never have to actually touch my keyboard to get any of these items in here. And so that is available. There's a QR code on this particular presentation, which kind of talks about all those various commands that you can use. I just shared two. I just shared period and next line, but I could have said backspace, delete, and I could tell them specifically what I wanted to do. So I don't have to touch my keyboard at all to dictate to use this. And this is really helpful if you've got a hand injury and you cannot type. But it's also useful if you want to get your ideas down. I tend to use it for making transcripts. So I turn it on and I just start speaking, and then I'll just correct the grammar after the fact just to kind of get my ideas and my thoughts. But then I have an immediate transcript right there that I can give to my students or my audience if I'm sharing. And that's a great tool because it used to be you had to buy this special software for it. Now it's already built in. And the fact that it also works in PowerPoint is amazing because then you can speak your slides. You don't have to type them out. For my son, this is extremely helpful. If you ask Xavier to physically write, he will get exhausted because he also has really bad dygraphia. So his handwriting looks like a young person in first grade just learning how to write. So for him, he gets very frustrated when he has to write because he's focusing so much on trying to make it look pretty that he's completely lost the thought. So if you want him to write a full paragraph, he's going to get frustrated. If you tell him to type a paragraph, he'll start doing it with his two fingers because he doesn't know how to type yet. So he's doing that one finger tap, which takes a while. And again, he's lost the idea. You give him dictation, he's giving you novels. And that's what he does. He'll just turn on the mic and he'll just start speaking. And then we'll help him with his punctuation and all that. But he's getting his ideas down because by the time he's gotten the idea, by the time it gets on paper, it's already gone. So this helps him focus because then he gives me novels. So he actually uses that when he writes stories. He likes to write stories, but he's not typing. He's actually speaking it using that dictation. So since we've been talking about English as a second language, and I am an English as a second language speaker, there is an option that's available that allows you to translate a document without you having to do too much effort. So let's say you've typed up a document and maybe you have somebody in your audience who speaks a different language and you want them to be able to have a copy of this document. You can translate it in Word. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I am back in my original document and I want to actually translate that. That shows up under the Review tab on Word, and it shows up as an icon with blue and green letters and symbols on it. But if I click on that, it's going to immediately open up a sidebar on the side. And it's going to ask me, okay, what do you want this to translate to? Do you want a specific selection? So is it a paragraph that I'm highlighting? Or do I want the entire document to be translated? So do I want to highlight it and then just translate that section? Or do I want the entire document to be translated? In this case, I want to say I want the entire document. And then it's going to ask me, okay, what language would you like to translate this to? Again, I can select the different language I would like. So in this case, I have picked Spanish, but I can pick different ones. They have 160 different languages you can pick. And I'm going to say I want to translate that. So I've told Word I want the entire document translated. It will then translate the document. And now that document is now in that language. So then I can go in here and then I can edit it if I wanted to. to correct this. So the nice thing about this is you can immediately use this to translate a document, and you can send it to that person that might need it. Yes, they could do that too if they have Office 365, but the fact that you're making that extra effort to make sure that they're included, that they've got that document, it speaks volumes. I had an international student, spoke French, and so when she joined, I just sent the documents to her in French. She thought I could speak French. I had to remind her, no, I don't speak French, but I use translation. But that small gesture of me just doing this quick translation and sending the document that everybody got, she just got it in French, really made her feel like, you want me in this class. I belong. I have a sense of belonging, that you care. So something that simple can work, and you can then use that for other documents as well.
Excuse me, Wendy, great question that MP Elizondo just asked. You can do the opposite, right? From Spanish to English?
So you can do the opposite of that. So if this was in Spanish, I can then translate it back to English. So it will by default want to recognize whatever language the document is in. So by default, Microsoft will pick up on whatever language the document is in. And it will automatically ask you, do you want to translate this? It just automatically detects it. But if this was in Spanish, I could translate it back to English or another language if I wanted to as well. So in this case, this is in Spanish. Everything is red because it's set to English. So it's telling me all of these are incorrect because it's set to English. But then I can then change that back to English if I wanted to. I can go back to translate, and I want to translate the document. And now I want it to actually translate to English. And I can go find English on the list of the many different documents that they have, and I can translate that, and then it will retranslate it back. So like I said, if you do get a document that is sent to you, it will by default let you know that that document, you can decide what you want to do with it, but you can also translate it as well. And again, this is just showing exactly what I just did. I just took a screenshot of that, explaining that it shows up on the right-hand side, and you can select either just a selection or the entire document. All right, so for this one, I'm going to go into PowerPoint. So if you ever had to speak in front of a group of people, and if you're a teacher, you do this all the time. You're thinking about how it's going to sound, or you might be nervous. I've been teaching for over 20-something years, and I still get nervous before I present. Before every class, before every lesson, I always get those butterflies. I always get nervous. I always wonder, did I cover this? And I'm thinking about it in my head. And so what if you have to give a big presentation? Maybe a student has to give a big presentation and they're really nervous. How can PowerPoint help them with this? PowerPoint has a feature built in. It's called Presenter Coach. And what that does, it allows somebody to run their presentation as if they were presenting it online or to a group of people face to face. And it gives them feedback as to how they can improve. Let me show you how that works. So I'm actually going to get out of my PowerPoint real quick just to show you. Right now, I'm in my PowerPoint without it being in full screen mode. And I want to practice how my presentation is done. I would click on slideshow, just like if I was going to present this to an audience. And there's something that shows up directly underneath slideshow. It says rehearse with coach. When I click on that, it's going to launch this PowerPoint in full screen, just as if I was sharing it with you. But then it's going to ask me, do I want to get live feedback as I'm presenting? So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and I'm going to show you what it looks like and the report that comes from it. So I'm going to click on rehearse with coach. It's going to open up my presentation, and now it's going to ask me, do you want to start rehearsing? I'm going to say start rehearsing. So now we're pretending like I'm actually presenting this. I would start speaking, and I'm deliberately going to do some things I shouldn't do. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was talking about this, right? You'll notice as I'm speaking, it's saying you're saying a lot. You might want to change that. So I can go through this presentation. I can go through the slides. As I'm going through the slides, I'm speaking, I'm practicing. When I leave the presentation, when I'm done presenting, this is what PowerPoint will then give me. It will immediately give me a report to show me how I did. It will tell me you rehearsed 2 slides for 35 seconds. It says, hey, your pace is pretty good. But then it also tells me things like, your pitch might need to change a little bit. You're sounding a little long, so you might want to fix that. If I used and ums, it would tell me to fix that and say, hey, you might want to change that. It will also look for things like, did you use offensive language by accident? So certain euphemisms may be hurtful for different communities. So if you're saying it, it might give you a flag and say, hey, you know what? That might not be the best term to use. You might want to use this term. It will give you suggestions. So in this case, it's telling you used a lot. You want to change that. If I repeated a lot of words, it would tell me you've used these words a lot. You might want to change it. Every time that you rehearse with it, it gives you a report. The more that you practice with it, the more the artificial intelligence will learn your voice and how you speak, and will give you more personalized suggestions as to how to fix that. So for example, for me, when I say the word assistive for assistive technology, if I don't stop to breathe, I have a lisp because my Spanish accent will come out. And so my tongue will curl. And so that assistive sounds wrong. It sounds like I'm saying something else. And so Rehearse Coach told me, you need to work on how you pronunciate this, slow down with this particular word because it's coming off as something else. And so this will do it every single time you rehearse. This is a great way to practice. If you have to do a presentation, it's great if you have a student who might have to practice interview skills, perhaps have a slide with the interview questions and see how they respond and practice those public speaking skills. They can also download this report and print it out. So for my students, if I have to give them an oral presentation, if that's one of their assignments, part of the assignment is they have to submit their original report. What did the report tell you need to improve? How many times did you do it? And then let's see the end presentation, because when you present, it's not just what you're presenting, it's how you do it. And so this is available on PowerPoint for all students, extremely useful and valuable. And it's available, again, on that slideshow section in PowerPoint. So when you go to PowerPoint and you go to present, you click on slideshow, it will say rehearse with coach. It's going to ask you to turn on your mic. And then you just speak like you normally would. You would normally just go through the presentation like you normally would, and it will start giving you live feedback. So when I said and it actually told me, you're saying and you might want to slow down, take a deep breath. It gives you live feedback while you do that.
Wendy, we have a great question. Ampy, thank you so much for this question. How do you put the slides in PowerPoint? Are those pictures then put them in the app? I would like to use it just for ESL lessons.
So when you go into PowerPoint, to create slides in PowerPoint, it's under the insert ribbon, and you just say new slide. It's going to then ask you to put in a slide. This is the template that I use. So let me go into a new presentation. So if you go into PowerPoint, you just click on new slide. It will give you a template layout of what you want it to look like. You can simply type the information on here. So if these are questions that you want them to have, maybe these are interview questions, like sample interview questions. I could type the interview question right here. And then if I wanted to put a picture in here, I can select the picture icons. You can either find things from the web or a picture that you've used on your computer, and then it'll put that presentation right in there. I click on slideshow, and then the students can then rehearse. You can technically do rehearse without having any questions. So if it was just a blank slide, so in this case, it's just one slide where it says, how are you today? I could do slideshow and I could say rehearse, and it will still allow me to rehearse. I can still be speaking and talking on this one slide, and it's going to give me feedback on this particular slide. So I could practice just speaking with this slide as well. So maybe the person has it written out. Maybe it's a Word document they've printed out and they just want to read it, and they want guidance on how they're reading that. They can have one blank slide like this up, start speaking, and then it will still provide them with feedback as to how they can correct that. So in summary, this is what we've talked about. I talked to you about the immersive reader, which is built into PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, Word. It reads the content out loud. You can translate the information. The dictate option, if you need to speak the information because you don't want to use your keyboard for various reasons. You can translate a document from any language out of 160 available languages, Or you can use the speaker coach in PowerPoint to work with those public speaking skills and skills that our students are going to need when they go out in the job force. Or maybe we need to practice, because with teaching, some days we have great days where it looks great on paper and we do the lesson plan and we go, that does not exactly how I wanted it to look. You can practice that and get that pace.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCAL continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.